Just to read the chat better, I'm going to use the other device I have here.
Yeah, I have it. I have. That's why I have it on this cube on the laptop over here. I have it open so I can read the chat, and over here I can focus on the conversation.
Okay.
There
Okay, let's wait a moment until the
we go.
until they come back again.
We're back, guys. Sorry, technical difficulties. My fault. One of the disadvantages of doing the stream on phone. Jay, what's up? Hello, Blick. It's been a long time that I've seen a message from you. Maybe you've been on the stream, but I haven't seen you right. Hello, Blick. Blick Lingo.
Thanks. If something's wrong, just let us know, please.
I'll know if
BP.
something's wrong on my end if I hear the distortion again. It's gonna be like, dang, I'm gonna know it's a problem again. BP is asking, true or false? Can permanent residents vote?
They can. Yes, of course. Even temporary have been here for a long time, which would be weird, but yes. Permanent residents can vote because foreigners, in order to vote in Ecuador, the regulation says that they must have been living in Ecuador for 5 years as residents with a visa. And once they have complied with that of being here 5 years, they go to the electoral council, el CNE, National Electoral Council, and they say, I would like to vote. I have been living here for 5 years. Please allow me to register. They will register you, and then you will be in the system. And when you go to vote, you will be in the notebook that they have, where they get actually the certificates from. But it's not mandatory. If anyone asks a foreigner for the voting certificate, they can simply show their cedula that will indicate they are foreigners, and it's not mandatory for foreigners to have this voting certificate because it's not mandatory for them to vote.
Hello, Kim. Hello, Crooks. How's it going, guys? Um, Mark Ola de nuevo, and we have another question. And Lisa's back as well. We have another question from Edward. Edward's coming in with the pro questions today. I think he's had in total, I think 3 or 4 so far. Can you
Well,
go over the candidate Luisa Gonzalez and if you see her winning in the next round and next year? There's actually something because Lewis actually mentioned that when we were talking about that separately about Luisa and her possibility of winning in the next round.
yeah.
And I have my own opinion about next year, but I don't know, Lewis. You want to say something first, or
Well, remember, it's still 1 year and a half until the next elections. The run-up will be in October, but the next elections will be in 2025, in 18 months from now, more or less. But first, for all of the people here, I think that it would be necessary to give context because some people have heard Luisa, Daniel, GM, and his father. They have provided info, but maybe there are people here. Hello, Don. Don's back. It's
yes,
an
he is.
honor
By the
to.
way, for everyone who doesn't know Lewis, this is Mr. Lewis from Build Dev Tours. He has 2 channels, Build Dev Tours, where he talks more about the more serious legal issues, coming into Ecuador, visas, tours and stuff. And then he's got his Lewis channel where he can be a little bit more free and give his opinion on situations.
Yes, thanks, GM, also for accepting this and allowing me in your channel.
As
Eh,
long as you're giving
well,
value, I think everyone's happy to have you, man.
mandatory. I have some notes here for discussing today. I will let you know. Mandatory vote, fine for not voting. We already covered that. Rules for winning the first round. I will explain that in a moment. The assembly results, the Yasuni, and the telematic vote, which is the vote for people who are living outside Ecuador, Ecuadorians outside Ecuador. They were able to vote, but not in person, electronically, and there were many issues regarding this. And first, let me give you a summary of the candidates. I already showed you the ballot, which had the 8 candidates. The first one was Yacu Perez, lawyer, 54 years old, born in the rural area of Cuenca in the parish Tarqui, just outside the city, but still part of the municipality of Cuenca. He almost became the president in the last elections after ended up in the third place, very close to the current president Guillermo Lasso. Actually, there were like protests in Quito because they were very, very tight, close. Yaku obtained 19.39% and Lasso obtained 19.74% of the votes. So Lasso made it to the second round, to the runoff in 2021. If Yaku had overcome that, that was only a difference of 30,000 votes, then Yaku would be the president today. Situation would be different. He was prefect of the province of Azuay. The prefect here is a figure like in the US, the governor. Is the person that people choose, that people vote for to rule the province in Ecuador. Uh, he was a prefect only for 1 year. He was chosen for that, but in 2020, he decided that he would run for the presidential office. So he had to quit as a prefecto for that. Perez has a law degree and four postgraduate degrees in watershed management, environmental law, indigenous justice, and criminal law. He's considered by many the indigenous candidate, but many others don't consider him as the indigenous candidate because he's not really born to an indigenous family in an indigenous area, but more a mestizo area. He says, no, my mother was indigenous, I am descent of indigenous, and he is like always trying to praise these indigenous values and have indigenous pride in Ecuador. He actually wasn't born as Yaku. Yaku means water in Quechua, the most spoken indigenous language here, especially in the Andes. Yaku means water. And he changed his name to Yaku because he considers himself part of the indigenous nation of the Cañaris. Uh, but some others don't like him. Those of you who have watched my videos before, you have known about Leonidas Isa, the indigenous political leader, and this indigenous political leader who has led the strikes and the protests, the major protests in Quito, Leonidas Isa, does not support Yaku because of the things that Yaku did during the elections in 2021. He says no, that he has some deals with other people that are from that the indigenous movement should ever ally with. So Leonidas Isa, during this campaign, he only supported the assemblyman of the Pachacutic Indigenous Party, and he, of course, promoted voting for yes to keep the petroleum underground in Yasuni, and yes to stop mining in the Chocoa area near Quito. But for president, he didn't support anyone, not even Yaku. There are internal struggles in the indigenous party, so they couldn't even support Yaku at all. Yaku had to run for his own party and another one, Unidad Popular, People's Unity. Yaku is leftist, just in case. He was only one of the only two leftist candidates here. The other leftist candidate was Luisa Gonzalez. Daniel Noboa, second in the ballot, businessman, 35 years old, the youngest candidate. Perhaps he will become the youngest president. And he studied business administration at New York University Stern School of Business, which is a difficult thing just to get admitted there. Those of you who are from the US, maybe you know, New York University Stern School of Business. He got a degree in public administration from Harvard Kennedy School and a master's in governance and political communication from George Washington University. He's a member of one of the wealthiest families in Ecuador. His father ran for presidency 5 times. So everyone knows the last name. Everyone knows his father, Alvaro Novoa,
Yeah.
because he's also one of the wealthiest men. He runs one of the biggest banana exporting companies in Ecuador. There are many scandals. Even during the Rafael Correa's government, he had one of his farms expropriated and given to the workers because they suffer exploiting, or that's what was art during that time. Um, Daniel, his son, who is going now to the runoff, he was an assemblyman from 2021 during the last term until May, this May, when Lasso signed the cross death and dissolved the Congress. Then Luisa Gonzalez, also lawyer, same as Yaku, 45 years old. She's the candidate of the Citizen Revolution, Revolución Ciudadana, the movement of Rafael Correa or Correísmo. She was born in Quito, but she lived all of her life in Manabi. Her family is from Manabi, and that's why she considers herself Manabi. This is very important because at the beginning, many people were saying, no, you're not from Manabi. Your cedula says you were born in Quito, you're not from Manabi. But when you look at her, she speaks like a Manabi woman, she acts like a Manabi woman. GM is from Manabi. I don't know what they think about her in Manabi, but he can give more opinion about this part.
Oh man, there's a lot of weird things when it comes to Manabi. Especially they always, there's always those comparisons between Manabi's people in general and the people from the highlands. Like people from the highlands are one way, and people from Manabi are another way. They actually think people from Manabi most of the time are very rambunctious, very, you know, energetic in a way. I guess is the easy, fun or more fun way to say it. And while people over in the highlands are a little bit more, calm and respectful.
Yes, and well, Luisa, she is a trusted woman of Correa. She worked with Rafael Correa during his government, during his presidential term, in several positions, including secretary to the president's office. Of course, she's a trusted woman. The former president, Lenin Moreno, he was of the Correa's party, but he betrayed him. So Correa wouldn't repeat that mistake again, and that's why he chose someone that would really be a trusted person for him. That's Luisa Gonzalez. And the vice president formula is important to mention him, Andres Arauz, economist. He ran for the presidential elections against Lasso in 2021, and he lost against Lasso. But many people like him, so I suppose that's why they chose him as the formula for Luisa. Let's read the comments to see if there's something before I continue so that we don't lose some
Yeah,
questions.
there are actually quite a few questions. We still have to answer the one about can you go over candidate Lisa Gonzalez and see if and if you see her winning the next round and next year. And that was the comment that you said that what are her chances of winning this right now, like in comparison to Daniel Noboa, and why exactly do we feel this way about that?
Okay, first we have to understand the rules for winning the elections in the first round. For a candidate to win, to become the president in the first round, the candidate would need to get at least, well, there are two ways. To get 50% plus one of the votes, that's absolute majority. This person would become the president immediately. None of the candidates did it. And the second way is to get at least 40% and that the candidate in the second place gets no more than that the difference with the second candidate is less, sorry, is more than 10%. So, for example, if Luisa had obtained 40% of the votes and Daniel Noboa had obtained 26% of the votes, then Luisa would be the president today because the difference was more than 10%. But Luisa obtained 33% and Noboa obtained 23%. That's why they have to go for a runoff. Now, we have to understand that correismo is a very important thing in Ecuador, politically speaking. Some people will say, no, that's the past, those are corrupt. And I'm not here for saying if they are corrupt or not, but what I can tell you is that many people support the movement. That's why Luisa got the first place now during the first round. They have a strong vote of around 32%. They got 33% yesterday. Many people still support Correismo for many reasons that we can discuss a little bit later. That GM also can mention, and I think he has mentioned in some videos. But there is a stronger movement that we could call anti-correísmo, anti-correísmo. And if Luis obtained 33%, that means that anti-correísmo got 66%. For Luisa to be able to get more than 50% of the votes, that's almost mathematically impossible. It's way too difficult because all of the other candidates are against Correísmo. So the people that voted for the rest of candidates are anti-Correísmo. Some may not like Novoa because they say, no, this is a rich man. His father was a or is, because he's still alive, his father is a person who has been very bad with his employees. He's an exploiting businessman. No, 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 we don't want him, and they will vote for Luisa. Maybe that happens. But the amount of people who could do that is not that much.
Uh, 1 second, Louis. I want to try something.
Yes.
Okay. So I just connected my mic, and I don't know if you guys can tell me if you can hear me. But Louis, if you talk right now, I will not be able to hear you on my stream because the mic is connected to the source where the audio would normally be allowed. So I don't know if you guys can hear me a little bit clearer now, but I won't be able to hear you. So what I'm gonna do is when you speak, I'm gonna remove the mic so that way I can hear you. And then when I speak, I'll put the mic back in. All right. So
Right.
that's what I was gonna say. That's the little solution I wanted to give. It sounds like it's gotten a little bit better. Although Doc still says it's got a little bit of a problem. I don't know. Maybe check it out. Um, so let me just give some of my ideas on some of the questions here, because I saw what Don said. Don asked, once a candidate wins the election, when do they actually assume the role and take office? And also, Doc asked about what is correísmo. When we talk about really quick, just when we talk about correísmo, um, it is basically just, if you want to look at it in the simplest terms, it's just everyone who supports Korea, people who support the whole system, the whole situation that Korea had, like, you know, his political reign. They're the people who support him. So everything that's what everyone links it to. But you could just say it's the time that Korea was here and the things that he did. Koreismo is the list. You would call it right now list number 5. The what do you call it? What's it called, Louis? La Revolución Ciudadana, right?
Citizen Revolution, Revolución Ciudadana, which is the
So
movement
that is
that.
that's pretty much Correísmo. And when they take office, the person who's going to be elected now, when they're going to take office, it'll be in November. It'll be after the elections in October. So we just have to wait until that point. What was it that he stood for? I think I'll let Lewis explain the more political terms of what he stood for. If I were to explain it, basically he stood for the people, because what his plan was, he was always supporting the people. That's what everyone always talks about. He was always going into the poor places of the country, helping those who had needs, making sure that there were things that were constructed in the country. That's the way that it's painted in, and it is pretty much the reality. Like I've talked about before with Korea, he did make the highways that we never had before Korea was here, and the roads. Like I remember traveling from Guayaquil before Korea, it was bad. And now it's like really nice highways. He made hospitals. He created these millennium schools. Um, and I know he did some other things, but basically he was a person that was considered for the people, and that's why the people who still support him are still diehard supporting him to this day, because they remember those things, and that's why a lot of Luisa's campaign, she said a lot of things about we did this before, we made this in the past, because, and that's why people say she's living from the past, because she talks about the things that were done and she keeps mentioning them now, even though we need plans for now, not for 10 years ago. I'll let Louis speak now, so let's move this.
Yes, exactly. Many people love Korea because of that. What he did, there is a before and after Korea in Ecuador for sure. To answer correísmo, yeah, in Spanish, ism would be like socialism, capitalism, communism, mercantilism. That ism in Spanish is ismo. Correa, Rafael Correa, Correa is the last name, so it's the movement of Rafael Correa, correísmo. And but many bad things happened during Rafael Correa, and also Rafael Correa is a very good friend of the Castros, the Cuban regime, and Nicolas Maduro. He actually now is an advisor for economic advisor for Venezuela's regime. He goes every now and then to Venezuela. Actually, the candidates for this campaign they travel to Caracas to have the pictures taken for the campaigns because Korea cannot come to Ecuador. Korea is considered profugo. I don't even know how you say profugo, but a person that is seeked by justice here, wanted by justice in Ecuador. Uh, the thing is that the legally speaking, because a little bit of law I like to study, there have been many weird things about the process for Correa. And that's why Interpol has not accepted the red alert on Correa that the Ecuadorian government have tried to impose. Like they have sent to the Interpol, we want Correa here because he's evading the Ecuadorian justice, but Interpol has rejected like no, there is evidence or strong evidence that there is political persecution. So well, it's not like they have said it that way, but what Interpol does not accept these petitions, it's because they have found something. There have been many bad things during the Korea's term, corruption cases a lot, yeah, many highways, many schools, many hospitals, many of them overpriced, like they had to cost something, and then in the end they ended up being overpriced with 50%, 100%, and other works that were not finished. But there was improvement in many, many other areas. And I am sure that many expats came to Ecuador or knew about Ecuador only once Correa was here because many things improved. Correismo is something that would require really a talk of 1 hour in a live stream like this or a video of at least 30 minutes. Just to discuss Correismo here, it's not possible because there are many things. But the thing is, many people like what happened during Korea's term because Ecuador became even the second safest country, and now people would like that back, and that's what they are. Many are voting for Luisa. I don't know if GM is adding something before I explain the other candidates, and we go then back again to Luisa and what we can expect for the runoff.
Hello. Yes, I will add a little bit. Just I guess you could say the people's thoughts and the situation with Corismo, because there were some questions about why is there a warrant for his arrest, how much money did he take, um, the situation with the military base, and he watched the shore and the narcos. See, there's a thing. The problem and another reason why there's so much anti-Correísmo, basically anti-Korea, is because people believe that the only reason Korea was able to keep everything in order and make Ecuador a safe country was because what Korea did. That this is speculation, of course. This is what everyone has talked about. Everyone says this is what is behind supposedly why Correísmo worked, because supposedly what happened is Korea talked to the criminals, to the gang members, to the leaders of the gang members, to the narcos, and he organized a kind of peace treaty, if you will, with them, allowing them to kind of do their business behind the scenes, and in exchange for keep making sure you don't mess with the population. That is the theory, and I can't confirm whether it's true or not, because that is what this is what people talk about all the time. And of course, you'll have the people who are diehard Correísmo fans who are going to say, no, that's not true. There's no evidence. But it's like I said yesterday on the stream, the person or the people who had information about Correa were killed. So I don't know if they had information about the things that he did behind the scenes or not, and that's why they were killed, or if it was just a coincidence, which, very weird coincidences, but it's the things that we talk about here in Ecuador, like the things that people talk about, like when we're talking about these kinds of situations. As for how much money he took, I can't put a dollar value on it. I just know that every time there was a plan, like to build a hospital or various hospitals, there was a budget set for that plan. And supposedly the amount that was actually used to build the hospital, like when you take out the calculations, was not equivalent to the amount what the budget said it was supposed to be. Just to give you an example, if it was said that Korea was going to build 10 hospitals with $100 million, this is not the reality, just an example.
Yeah.
It was
So
like he built 2 hospitals and spent 1 million. So what happened with the other 900 million? Like, it's just an example, of course. It could be much more, it could be much less. But there were values that didn't make sense with what was actually done in the country, especially if you consider the materials that were used. Like, if you go into the details, it's even more complicated. So he is currently wanted for arrest from the last investigation that I did, because he was found to be guilty of some form of corruption. I don't remember exactly what the corruption case was. Like, there's a lot of things if you look at it behind the scenes, but the specific ones, like, that they're looking for him for, like, that I don't remember exactly what it is. I remember I saw it in an article, and I was going to talk about it one day, but I didn't get a chance to. All right, I'll let Louis continue now.
okay, Barb, BP. Luis, didn't he kick out, or yeah, U.S. military that was short and narcos also at risk to U.S. dollar currency? First, yes, when Korea arrived, he said, we cannot allow, there was a U.S. Basis, military basis in Manta. And when Korea arrived in power, in office, he said, we cannot allow to have foreign military bases in our country. Would the US allow an Ecuadorian military bases in their territory? That's not sovereignty. So we have to kick them out because we are a sovereign country. For some, this was a good thing. And if you think about it carefully, I mean, that's a good argument. Would the US allow foreign military bases in their territory? No. So why should we? Because we have problems, because blah, blah, blah. No, but we should be able to take care of ourselves. That is what should be like. But some others say that he kicked out that military bases to be able to deal with the gangs, the narcos from Mexico, to be able to land here freely and for them to become rich. Those are theories. This is not a fact. There is no like real evidence that Correa knew about this. In my humble opinion, if you're asking me, I think that Correa was not related to the narcos in Mexico or that he stole the money, but I think that he knew, that he, of course, knew what was happening and didn't have the sufficient strength to stop this. That's what I think. This is theories. Again, Interpol, for example, has rejected the red alert because there's no, how do you say, state evidence or 100% evidence. For Ecuador, he's a fugitive. But for the international law, it's not clear. And that's why Belgium is giving him asylum. But also, he's married to a Belgian woman. What is the risk to US dollar currency? We use US dollar. We don't use a local currency since 2000 because of a crisis that happened then. And it's very important to have US dollar because that protects the economy in a way that the president cannot simply order the central bank print money so that we can pay everyone bonus, special aids, help to the people, and that we can pay our debts to the different institutions, which would cause inflation. But since we have US dollar and the other countries don't, that's also something that make us able to purchase things that other countries can't. Like if I would like to buy through Amazon, an Ecuadorian credit card is simple to do it, and we can travel more because we have US dollars, so it's easier to spend the money. And the government has imposed many tariffs on taking the dollars out to protect the dollarization. Because if at a point many dollars get out of the country, then we will lose the dollarization. And then we will have to use our own currency, which would cause higher hyperinflation as it happened in the 90s when the country went to bankruptcy. How much did how much dollars did he take while helping the people? GM already spoke about this. Why is there a warrant for his arrest? Okay, the case, well, there are several cases actually. In one part of the presidential palace in Quito, they even put, how do you say, like in metal, a, I don't know, una placa, we say in Spanish, plate of metal saying so that people don't forget the names of the crops, and they put Correas and many other people names there. The justice here has found him guilty of being able of sorry of allowing the corruption, of being a corrupt himself in different works. In there is a case that Villavicencio, the assassinated candidate, reported, which is called Arroz Verde. He did it along with the substitute of him for these elections, Christian Zurita, green rice, arroz verde. And it's called like that because in one of the emails that they discovered, there was something like saying it was for rice, but the amounts were for other things. I don't have all the details, but this is one of the most important cases. There is even one book about this. You can look, I don't know, maybe it's on in Amazon, but it's in Spanish, arroz verde, green rice. Uh, and also something that many criticize is that in the reports of the law for making the warrant, they say that Correa had psychical influx on people here to commit corruption. And it's like that in the Attorney General's office. That's why, for some, it's a joke, the process that they held on him. Um, yeah, that's to not enter too much in details now. Let's see if there is another question. I don't mind. I don't mind that until the U.S. stops wanting drugs. Let's protect the innocent people of Ecuador. I don't get it here, like the U.S. Pentagon with $5,000 hammers. I don't get the context. Sorry. What risk of U.S. currency staying U.S. dollar? Ah, if Luisa president. Yeah. The guy, Andres Arauz, the economist, who is the vice president couple of Luisa. He proposed in a TV show in Argentina, like in May or March, a way to have a currency here or a system of a currency alternate to the US dollar. And that's why they say what you want is to take the dollarization away because you want to be able to create money out of nothing and print the money to your however you like and do as Venezuela where everyone is billionaire but they're actually all poor. Arauz proposed something. It wasn't exactly like let's print all the money that we want, but there was something that may affect dollarization. But actually, it would be unconstitutional. There are law mechanisms that, or there are things in the law that forbid what he proposed. But just for you to know, if Luisa won, she wouldn't be able to take dollarization as simple as that. They may make things that would affect dollarization, And also the investors, the markets would place Ecuador in a country risk index very high. There would be risk, yes, but it's not like they are getting to the government and suddenly they will say no more dollars here today. Because even Correa said it during his government. We cannot simply take the dollar away because Ecuador would broke immediately. It's not something that simple. He said he would prefer to have another currency, an own currency, because let's make it simple. We are Ecuador here, and we have Peru and Colombia. Colombia to the north, Peru to the south. They produce almost the same things, and let's say almost the same quality in fruits, in products, tropical products. But Colombia can devalue their currency, Peru can devalue their currency. Ecuador can't because we have United States dollars. So let's assume we start the year one selling banana bags for $1. Colombia sells in pesos the equivalent to $1, and Peru sells in soles equivalent to $1. But then, since they need more income in local currency, Colombia decides to devalue their money, their currency, and start selling that $1 banana box in pesos to the price of 90 cents. And then Peru decides to sell in 85 cents. But Ecuador can't do that because they cannot modify their currency. It's US dollar. We depend on the Federal Reserve. But if it is the same quality, who do you think that the foreign markets will buy to? If they are the same quality. That's the thing, that's the bad part of the dollarization. We don't have ways to adjust the prices of products for selling, for exporting. That's why Korea said he would prefer to have his own currency. Uh, okay, Kevin. Hey, Luis. Hey, yes. Thanks for doing the stream. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, Kevin. So, Luisa pardon him if she wins. Doc Jackie, that's a very good question because there could be presidential pardon, but I don't know if the Constitution allows it in all cases. They haven't mentioned this, so I don't think it's possible actually, but that's a good question. I don't think this is like in the US that the presidential pardon is like very open. Wasn't it proven that Korea had put a hit on someone who was a political threat while he was in Colombia? Is it a fact or just chisme? Justin, excellent question. There was a guy named Fernando Balda. Uh, Fernando Balda is, well, he's now a politician man, but he reported that Correa tried to kidnap him in Colombia through the intelligence service. Some evidence, yes, this was taken to the court, and they said yes, Correa was guilty. Or, well, not that Correa was guilty, but he was the main leader of the intelligence service, so he had to know. The guys didn't, or the that led the operation didn't expressly say Correa ordered us to do this, but it will. And this guy, Fernando Balda, in my humble opinion, I don't think he's very trustworthy. And since in the judicial power there are also many people against Correa, uh, I think this was more of how do you say of a theater, but maybe it was true. I can't really know because Fernando Valda was not like a guy. I would believe more that he went against Villavicencio. Actually, Correa ordered, and this was even recorded, they entered with the intelligence, with the police, in the house of Fernando Villavicencio in Christmas and took their computers in the house. Fernando Villavicencio is the assassinated candidate. Sorry. He was a journalist. He made an investigation on him, and this was like in 2014, 2015. Correa ordered the police to break in his house. In Christmas, with his family, they took the computers, and then Villavicencio had to flee the country because there was a strong persecution. But against Valda, the guy that was ordered to be kidnapped in Colombia, I'm not that sure that this is that true because I don't know what Fernando Valda could have against him. And when he came back, there was no major follow up to that. But what Fernando Villavicencio, yes, there were many things that he kept reporting all the time. Uh, Edward Diaz, okay, this is running up. GM, please write the names, otherwise you're spreading rumors. Okay, GM, I think you want to say something.
Yeah. Let me take a second to speak. Give me 1 second. I connected the mic, so now I think everything is. I think you can hear me a little bit better. Um, so a few things that I wanted to say. First of all, in regards to this, to the whole rumors and the situation with Korea, and maybe like I know a lot of this is the thing about Correísmo and the thing about every other political party, because that's just the distinction. It's always Correísmo versus like everyone else. And I'm not taking sides, by the way. I'm not saying that Korea is like this, or I'm not saying that this is the. I'm telling you what I've heard, what I've seen, what I've been, what everyone here sees and everyone here hears, what we've lived through. I'm not here to try to tell you guys, hey, like, this is bad. Like, I mean, it is bad from a certain angle if you look at it, but it's not like, oh, I'm a big supporter of Novoa. For each candidate, there is a situation. I mean, I probably can't think of the one for Yaku, Hervas, or this other guy, Armijos, because they're just like in the whole campaign, they're kind of irrelevant. But if I were to talk about each each candidate who had more of an impact, John Topic supposedly had a situation where he didn't pay his IRS, the SRE. He hasn't paid his taxes. So he's got that problem behind him. And that, I think this was a question that was asked on the other stream of the same of today, that what do you think influenced who won or who lost? A few days or a week prior to the elections, that came out about Jan Topic. Then there was a situation about Novoa doesn't really have anything behind him except for the fact that he's just, people are looking at him kind of like Mr. Lasso #2, because he's a rich guy who's going into power and who's promising to do things better. And you saw what happened with Lasso. Lasso didn't really do much, maybe because the assembly didn't let him. And maybe this time, Noboa having the support of assembly will do things better. But there is no real guarantee of that. So people are also afraid that if they throw Noboa into office, he's just going to do the same thing as Lasso. And since he's a rich person, he's not going to care. That's another reason why people think that he's not going to be linked to corruption, because he's got money. And when you've got money, you have less to lose in terms of corruption. But it's just the difference between both of these guys. Well, the reason why people are considering him more than they would probably John Topic. And then obviously we have Luisa, who everyone just says is pretty much just trying to live off the past. So I don't have a specific bias towards anyone except for my choice, the person who I chose. But even the person who I chose in the election, no matter who it was, I knew that there was always the risk that they could do something really bad and they could just be a total mess. And there's always the hope that they'll be the person who makes the country be better. And Ioroman or Euroman, yeah, I get you. I know that I need more information or data. But the thing is, if I tell it, like, I could tell you that, for example, one of my friends told me, and I could tell you their name. Well, why would I want to sell them out when there are people who I maybe not, they're not on this stream, but people who might look at it and they might, and if one day something were to happen where they're like, oh, we want to get rid of the people who said bad things. I'm not saying that it will happen, but you never know. I'd rather not throw them under the bus and say, oh, this is the person, and now they're going to go look for them, because that wouldn't be fair. If I say something, I'll take the I guess you could say the repercussions of what I say. So just imagine it's me saying it, and don't worry about anyone else. Not trying to spread rumors. I'm just telling you all the things that I have. I can go look for articles and I can make a community post of all the things, like I wrote in the chat, of all the things that I found about the candidate, about Korea, and I can find something about each other candidate. But that's not what this live stream is for today. When I have a computer where I can share the live stream, on the live stream I can share the images and the links and the whole article so that we can talk about it while we see it, then we'll do that. But for now, it's not really the intention of this stream to do that. We're talking about the situation with Korea, with not with Korea, with the elections, and we're answering the questions that everyone's answering, you know. And we're also giving our thoughts and opinions on the situation as well. So yeah, that's some of the thoughts that I have on that. I don't know if Louis, you want to continue saying something. I also saw another question from Edward. Oh, by the way, Edward, thank you for the support. And I will get that in Cebollado. And Edward said something about dealing in BRICS currency. Do you know anything about that, Louis?
Well, I know Lula was talking about that recently. Lula, the president of Brazil, but it's not like Guillermo Lasso is too fan of Lula. So, but he's also leaving. So we'll see what happens next. It was well, Lula was proposing, yeah, something like that, and also, well, a regional currency. But I don't think there will something will happen, especially with Argentina in the way it is. For the BRICS, I have to see the question because I know they were proposing something here in South America. And for the BRICS, the people ruling now is China. Well, there is one question here. I've heard from some Ecuadorians living abroad that Chinese government influence is growing in Ecuador. Is this something you can confirm or deny? BRICS, the strongest part there is China, which is the second largest economy. And China's region has thought wisely about expanding. And they have expanded to many places of Africa. They have expanded to many places of Latin America as well. If in Ecuador, the particular case during the Korea time, China had a lot of contracts, including the Yasuni extraction of petroleum in the national park. In many other areas, the hydroelectrics they made here, the largest hydroelectric also, many roads. They have built many things here. So for that, we owe a lot to China, and I mean not as a favor. We owe them a lot of money, and if we don't pay that money back, we will have to give them something because they will want their money back or their investment back. There's no like big influence in the politics, and we're paying, but if we don't pay, something may happen. That's that would be a short answer. But IORMAN bonus is no different than tax forgiveness to large companies. They both cost. Yeah, yeah. If, uh, yes, they both cost to the state. The thing is that sometimes they don't forgive the debt to the large companies, but the interests to the companies. Uh, Mark Horning, appreciate your comment. Justin, so it isn't 100% confirmed. Not sure what you're talking about. Those Chinese cars on the waterway dam that is breaking down was made with steel from China. Doc Jackie, yes, there are many products from China that have no tariffs or have very low tariffs in comparison to products from other countries. So Chinese products can enter here with lots of advantages because of these treaties. The U.S. calls it lobbying and looks down on South America for corruption. Yes, at this point, there are a lot of people who give their point of view. Ioran man, please write the names, otherwise you're spreading rumors. Thanks for a little something and say, watch out. If I was president, would be allowed, Korea be allowed back in country? Well, if Luisa won the elections, she would still have to negotiate in the assembly. Their majority, we will speak about that in a moment, but they will still need votes for other people, and the judicial power, they don't control the judicial power. So it's not as simple as that.
Louis, really quick, regarding that, that was also wanted to talk about because I saw the question, but I was waiting to be able to intervene. By the way, guys, it's not that I'm not paying attention. I'm just reading the comments over here and answering through messages while Louis is speaking. So that way there's a little bit of interaction from both of us and I can keep up to date with everything that's happening over here and over here. So what I wanted to say in regards to that, the situation with Luisa being able to pardon him, I read somewhere that it's not as easy as just saying, "Hey, you can pardon him. You can just let him come back to the country," because I heard the only way that he can accept a pardon is by admitting guilt. So if he
Ah,
admits guilt, then he is no longer innocent, and everything that everyone said about him being innocent would in turn be a lie. So there's no way for him to just come out and say, I'm he wouldn't do that. Like that's why there's an argument against him doing that, because it's ridiculous for him to accept guilt after so many years of saying that he's innocent. Once he does that, then everyone wins and Correísmo instantly loses, because you would lose all credibility because you just accepted you were guilty. Um, so that's the situation. It's not as easy as just Luisa would just come into power and say, "Hey, you can come back." There is, like Louis says, there's negotiation. There's things that you have to talk about. There's some ways that you can like lessen the blow, but no matter what, if he comes back, there's going to be repercussions that are going to be seen in this whole situation. At least I think he can't come back with a completely clean slate, not based on what I've investigated. I'll let Louis take it from there. I just wanted to say that.
yes, I didn't recall, but it happened with the vice president of Correa, Jorge Glass. He's he was almost the presidential candidate, but since he's still being investigated for some things, he decided not to run and give Luisa Gonzalez the position. They said when Moreno was the that if Arauz won the elections in 2021, they spoke about this, about indulging, giving pardon, presidential pardon to Jorge Glass, but that would mean that he accepts he was a corrupt. You can only get the pardon if you were a criminal, if the charges on you are true. So getting the presidential pardon means that you were a criminal. So it's not as simple as that. GM got it right.
Louis, really quick. Edward had a question. Ooh, that sounded bad. Um, Hold up. Let me. Mike. So, Edward asked over here, has Ecuador seen significant inflation post COVID? And I have talked about this before, but you being over in Cuenca, what have you seen?
Define significance. There has been inflation, but not as high as in the US. That when I speak with people from the US, I have an aunt in the US. She says this is terrible. I watch sometimes the Telemundo. Telemundo is a Latino channel in the US. We see the reports that how things are there. And I say here, some, yes, because you see that prices increase, but not as high as in the US because I made a video about the Feria Libre, the free market, free fair, where you go and find all types of fruits. And I explained you there, it was almost 2 years ago, that you buy things per dollar. A bag of tomatoes for $1, a bag of onions for $1, and these bags still exist for $1. Maybe they have removed in some products, some fruits, one apple, one onion, but just that. I mean, basically, you find the same thing for $1. You can still buy for dollar. Salchipapa, which is the favorite fast food here, at least in the Andean region. Salchipapa, which is sausage and potato, French fries and sausage, but it's called salchipapa. Salchi, sausage, salchicha, papa, potato. Salchipapa costs $1 and is a like a mini bucket like this, full of French fries with a sausage on the top. That costed $1. Because of the Ukraine situation and Russia, the oil went up in skyrocketed. They increased it to 125 and 125. Yes, it increased a quarter, 25%. So, but it's because of the oil. So in general, you could say that this is more or less what has happened. But it's not like something that costed $1 now costs $2 only with oil because of the situation with the war. But the rest, rents, it's almost the same. I know people who have been renting with the same price of COVID because we're still reactivating as well. It's not huge inflation, in my opinion, and what I see. Yeah, I could make another free fire video maybe to show you, but it's not like in the US that they tell me it's crazy, really crazy. Oh, also, we have a lot of subsidies, gasoline and gas, and that's why prices are like more stable. That's costing the state, the government, but that's keeping also inflation like stop, at least for meals, for food, for the basic products. Kevin, after second round out of elections, when will the new president take office? In November. Yeah, we said it. It's brave to put Warren out if he had such smooth dealings with the cartel and gangs during reign. The thing is that there is no evidence that he has relation with the cartel and gangs. Don Shader, have any of the two remaining candidates make any promises in regards to corruption in Ecuador? Well, Luisa, she has spoken about cases that Lasso has been involved in, but not something. And I think this is a mistake. And maybe if they want to win the runoff, they have to say, yes, we had many corrupts, and we won't tolerate this ever again. We will caiga quien caiga. That means whoever that is, this person will be punished. They have to speak like this. But if Luisa has not said anything like that, like, yes, we have corrupt people that betrayed us and we won't be soft with them ever, we will investigate them. She hasn't said anything like that. If she wants to win, she has to be harsh and say, if we ever see any corrupt, this person will go in prison immediately. What happened in the past will not be repeated again. But she actually has said, we did it, and it will be done again. She's acting like the government was perfect, like everything was fine, everything was great, and there are no mistakes. There were no mistakes. If they want to win the runoff, they have to say that they made mistakes and they have to correct them, like the corruption that they allowed.
Louis, really quick.
Yeah.
Um, a question Brooks Hideaway that I just got to see because a lot of them went down as
Yeah.
I was answering lower in the chat. But Crook said, "So do the campaigns still remain to receive votes, or do some drop out? And so do the candidates still remain to receive votes, or do some drop out and endorse someone else to give their votes to? Are any of them required to drop out?" I'll let you answer this question, but I also want to talk about the situation with the end of this campaign and the possibility of the next campaign. Um, I'll just answer that part, which is basically once this campaign is over and the president, whoever runs as president, takes over. This is why it's a very volatile kind of time because if the president, whoever comes into power right now, does a really good job, then obviously they pretty much got the next year's presidential candidate like secured because people are gonna trust them and they're gonna respect them. But if they don't do anything, then there's a high possibility that people aren't gonna take them seriously because they didn't do anything. So there's a lot of different things here. And like me as someone who knows that being president isn't an easy thing, not because I am president, but because it looks like a difficult job. I know that it's not just that the president's going to come into power and fix everything like that. So even if someone comes in and tries to fix things, I will completely understand if they weren't able to fix it because there just was no time. My dad said it yesterday on stream. It takes at least about a little bit over a year to settle into office. And then it takes the process of the year, the rest of the years that you're in power, to make a change. And this next presidential campaign doesn't even have any of that. So the chances of them making a substantial change, I think, are very low. And if they do make a substantial change, it is going to be very certain level suspicious because, I mean, how did you do it? Like, what did you have to do behind the scenes to make such a substantial change so fast? That's just that is entering into conspiracy theory, obviously, of course, and just my own personal opinion. But it would be really weird if someone got into power and was able to make really big changes really fast, and no one knows how they did it. So I'll let Lewis talk about if what the the candidates right now. Uh, so what do you think, Lewis? Do they endorse someone else, or what do they do now?
They are free to decide. For example, Javier Herbas in the last elections, he ended as the fourth candidate, and at the beginning he was saying, I'm not the boss of the people who voted for me, so this is democracy here. Let them choose whoever they prefer." He didn't want to take a side. Yaku, he became many, he lost a lot of support, and you can see it in these elections because he said this when it was Guillermo Lasso, the current president, who is a banker, against Arauz, the economist from Correísmo. Yacu Perez, the indigenous candidate, he said, I prefer a banker to a dictator. I prefer a banker than a dictator. That means he preferred that people voted for Lasso instead of Correísmo. And so, yeah, they decide if they support someone or not. It's free for people to choose in the end. But if you want to put it simple, this is a thing of correísmo against like anti-correísmo. I have many acquaintances, friends, relatives, and I am 100% sure that GM also, that they say now in the second round, or they said until yesterday, well, for the second round, for the runoff, I will vote for whomever that goes against Korea, whomever except Korea, whomever except Luisa. That's the thing now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, well, about for finishing about Don's question on the side of Daniel Noboa on corruption, he hasn't talked too much about this. That has not been the main focus. The main focus has been, well, about the ports, yes, to militarize the ports, to militarize the borders, and to avoid the corruption of letting goods be smuggled or containers be contaminated with drugs, this type of things. But he hasn't talked too much about the public administration, how to control corruption there. Maybe he will do now. And his focus has been more on economy, like we have to improve the economy here. We will do some works related to electricity to reduce the price of electricity so that people pay less, but also companies pay less for electricity because it will be cheaper so that they can produce more. And they start coming to Ecuador to open factories and other things to generate employments. And also, well, a lot on economy that young people work, then many people get enrolled in the formal working system so that they pay to the social security because like half the country of the people working in the country currently, they don't have social security. They're being just hired in the black market. But well, there are many reasons for that because the economy is very weak at this moment. Uh, Wow, there are so many questions. Well, because of time, I think we will answer only the questions really related to the election and to Luisa and Novoa's offers or other candidates. But Correísmo, we will have to leave it for another live stream. At the end, you may let us know if you would like to have another live stream to speak only about Correísmo, because then if we keep doing that now, we won't talk about the elections anymore.
Oh.
What do you think, GM? Uh, I don't know why I lost the. Wow, wow, wow. So many things here. Ecuador living in the BRICS currency in the near future. I had misunderstood the question. We don't really know. With Novoa, maybe, because he's a businessman and he knows about money. Let me read you his profile, not Daniel Novoa, so that you understand who he is. I already talked to you about Luisa, lawyer, worked in the Correa's presidential term in many public positions, including vice consul in Spain, one of the consulates in Spain. So she has a lot of experience in politics. But Daniel Novoa, I was reading you that he studied business administration at New York University, public administration, Harvard Kennedy School, masters in governance and political communication from George Washington University, and member of one of the wealthiest families. He was an assemblyman, so he's new to politics, only 2 years, but he has learned a lot. And the thing is that he has a high profile because of his studies. Many people are saying now, okay, you voted for a rich guy in 2021 that led us to the disaster that we have now. And again, now you're voting for another rich guy instead of voting for someone that prioritizes or gives priority to social policies. So you're making a mistake. But until last week, the main complaint about Lasso was that he was a high school graduate because Lasso didn't go to university. He's only a high school graduate. He's a banker. He's owner of one of the most important banks here, Banco Guayaquil. He has a lot of money, of course. He has a lot of friends that are not so good, and that's why actually he's leaving the government earlier because they were investigating corruption cases related to his friends, very, very close to him in the government. And Novoa, well, Novoa doesn't have a past uh, chasing him. Guillermo Lasso was involved in the crisis that led to the dollarization of the country. Many people hate Lasso because they see him as the responsible person for about 10% of the Ecuadorian adult population having left the country in the early thousands, late 90s,
El
because
feriado
he was
bancario.
el feriado bancario. That would require another video. I don't know if GM has explained it in other videos because it was a very big event. It has it's an event that has shocked the entire country, and Ecuador today is what it is in part to that. And I mean it in both ways, the dollarization, but also many kids that were grown without parents, so many migrants out of the country living in the US, in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Minneapolis, even in Florida. I don't even know if GM's family went to the US because of the feriado bancario, uh, but many, many people did it during that time. And Novoa, he's a young man. His father has been owner of one of the biggest banana farms and banana companies, sorry, not only one farm, actually several farms. But Daniel himself, he's not been related to big scandals. There was something of his former wife saying that he was persecuting her and didn't want her to see their kids, something like that. But it was very weird because this scandal came out only once he was a candidate for the assemblyman in 2021. And after that, we haven't really heard too much about that case. So it looks like it was something to damage his reputation as a candidate. I'm just saying what it looks like. I'm not saying this is the truth. Maybe Novoa was a bad father and bad husband. I don't know. Now he's currently married to another woman. Feriado bancario. Is there a Monster Granger screen above chat? What is Monster Granger? I haven't. Now that the people voted to the end of the Yasuni oil drilling, the gas in Ecuador, I at least doubt if not more. We will talk about Yasuni in a moment. I want to finish with the candidates, then we will go to the Yasuni because it's important to know what Ecuador voted for. It's related a lot to the strikes, the subsidies. Actually, GM's father yesterday said something very important about this. How much someone can get done in 1.5 years. GM already talked about this part. Um, Not too much can be done. Just setting the basis. Okay, you're having an interesting chat here. Democracy isn't the best system for freedom and prosperity. Which candidate would? Okay, which candidate would you trust for improving safety and? Oh my God, it went away. For improving safety and eliminate corruption. Let me read out these two. Of course, Daniel Novoa would be for security, safety, and eliminate corruption. With Luisa, maybe there will be safety because they had a police that they invested many funds in the police. They created the ECU 911 system during Korea's term. Ecuador became the second safest country. There are these theories, like GM mentioned, that Correa made deals with the gangs, so that's why there was peace on the streets while they were able to do their trafficking. Those are theories. That's yeah, we don't have any evidence. But with Luis, but what I can tell you and that I saw is that there was a lot of investment in security equipment, in the police, new prisons, the ECU 911 system, because our 911 system was almost inexistent. But then you started watching cameras, headquarters, with a lot of big systems. The prisons, they install metal detectors. You didn't hear of the mass shootings inside the prisons, the riots with so many deaths inside the prisons during Korea's term. Uh, I don't know if it was because he dealt with people, but the thing is that there was safety on the streets. Ecuador became the second safest country. That's a fact. Many people miss that and they want Luisa because of that. Correa, sorry, Novoa is proposing good things about security, protecting the borders, and I know he will speak with Jean Topic, which was the candidate who focused on security. Let me read to you a little bit about Jean Topic. Businessman, 40 years old. He was the least experienced of all the candidates in politics because he had never participated. He had only run his companies. He even said in an interview some time ago that he would be very bad as a politician because he didn't have patience. He owns one of the most important security companies in the country, and his family owns one of the top telecommunication companies in the country. He was about to be chosen as, and this is very important, he was about to be chosen as Secretary of Security in May this year, but the appointment was cancelled in the last minute. According to Topic, Lasso told him that there were political factors in the Andes, in Quito, that didn't want Topic to be the security advisor for the country. So that's why he had to cancel that. And after that, once Lasso signed the cross deck, Topic immediately said, I want to become president. I want to solve the situation of insecurity here. He earned a Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Mathematics from the University of Pennsylvania, also top university. Master's degree in Quantitative Finance, Econometrics, and Quantitative Economics from the London Schools of Economics and Political Science. And he also completed leadership and management programs at Harvard Business School, as well as studies in safety and security, because he runs one of the top security companies in the country. He knows a lot about artificial intelligence, big data, so he would be the one that could solve insecurity problems. But why didn't people choose him? Because there were many. rumors around him. The assassinated candidate, Fernando Villavicencio, kept reporting him and his family on different cases. What GM mentioned about he owing 31 million to the tax office, the IRS of Ecuador, SRI, SRI. Yeah, this is partially true. Why? Because yeah, there is a debt of 31 millions of from the company to the state to the IRS. However, this debt is being challenged. It's shown as in the process of challenge. That means that they say they are not to pay that debt because it's more than what it should be or there is a mistake or something. So if they pay for that now, then they would be accepting that that is of theirs. So it's being challenged. If after analysis the IRS says yes, this was correct, this is what you have to pay, then they will have to pay. But meanwhile, it's being challenged. Just for you to know, I can't tell if the challenge is will be successful or not. Uh, Also, because he owns one of the top security companies, he owns one of the well his family because he gave away his shares, all of his part of the company he gave him to other people, including his father, just before getting into the election. And for another company in Manta, related to the municipality of Manta, he sold his shares once he was a candidate, which is very weird because this company in Manta controls the radars on the highways that issue the fines for people speeding. He made a contract where the company got 60% of the fines and the municipality of Manta 40%. And he made another contract for the vehicle revision, and the former mayor who was assassinated 3 weeks ago, he's, he canceled one of the contracts as soon as he arrived because he said this is very bad for our municipality. This is not correct because that contract of the vehicle revision was given 85% to Topics company and 15% for the municipality only. And the other contract of the radars, it was they had an amendment just 9 days before Agustin Intriago, the assassinated mayor, entered in office. He said he was going to cancel that contract. And but the mayor, in that point, just 9 days before the end of the term, and Agustin Entrago was entering to cancel that, they made this amendment that indicated if the municipality of Manta cancels this contract, then the municipality of Manta will have to pay $9 million to Topic. This was very weird. And during the last week, many videos became viral because Agustin Intriago was reporting the Topics company as being very bad at him and the municipality of Manta. So some people said, "Oh wow, it's very weird that this guy was reporting Topic and he then was assassinated." I mean, just conspiracy theories that people spread. And also, Villavicencio kept reporting the Topic family, saying they are coming to Ecuador to the power to take care of, sorry, to take the control of all of the telecommunications. Maybe, I mean, they run strong companies, good companies so they could have won all the state contracts because they were good. But people who have said they did it because he's the president. So there was a big, very, very big conflict of interest there. And during this last week, many people decided, okay, it's very risky to vote for this guy because there are many weird things. Also, he is the candidate. He lost many votes with this. In a podcast show, during the streaming of the show, the guy that was interviewing him made something similar to what happened with Elon Musk in a podcast show. They gave a cigar of CBD, a derivative of cannabis, and he smoked this. So everyone was saying, "Oh my God, we don't want a drug addict president that
Yeah.
smokes marijuana all the time." And it was CBD, which is not exactly marijuana, but I mean, Ecuador is very conservative in that matter, so they said no, this guy is a drug addict, and he lost many votes like with that. Also, Ecuador is a very Catholic country,
Yeah.
and he said in another interview that he didn't believe in God as the Catholicism portrays it. That idea of the Abrahamic God, no, he believes in a superior force, but not like the Catholic God. And for many that mean, oh, this guy is atheist, he's not Catholic, he's the Antichrist or whatever. So that also made him lose many votes. And Saturday evening, just before the elections, he insulted Korea and told him many things and said, I will work for you to be brought here again and be arrested. So many people that were thinking about giving him the vote in the end said, no, this guy is going to be another Lasso. Like everything will be to blame to Korea, and I will put my strength in bringing Korea back to put him in prison. We don't want that, and that's what gave many votes to Noboa because all of the campaign of Noboa, he hasn't been. I am going against Korea. I am going against Korea. He's been talking. This is what I propose. This is the new offer that I have, the future, but never mentioning Correa or mentioning Lazo or mentioning anyone. He's saying these are my proposals. My campaign is coming from a new generation because he's young. He's 35 years old. He has studied in very good universities, not criticizing others, not blaming others. He said, this is what I'm going to do, and we are the future. Ecuador deserves something better now, and we're going there. And he's focused a lot on even though he's rich, he has talked about like we want a country where people don't have to suffer because of the banks charging them a lot for the interest, for debts, where people can be employed and be enrolled in social security. And the offer is very good. And he was known, especially after the debate. During the debate, the two most prominent candidates were Jan Topic, the security guy, and Daniel Noboa. No, he was in the last numbers in the polls, but after the debate, he just skyrocketed like this. Um, well, about Gen topic to finish, he focused all of his campaign on security because it's what most Ecuadorians demand right now. The He fought as a soldier of the French Foreign Legion in several countries. He knows a lot about weapons, security, drones, many things. Many people wanted him to rule. I thought about voting on him also. I even promoted him, you could say. But then during the last week, many things happened here in the news. And that's why Noboa, who was like in among the last people in the polls, he actually made it to the second round. And most likely he will be the next president because it's very likely that Topic's votes go to Noboa. Remember, Luisa obtained 33, Noboa obtained 23, Topic obtained around 14. If you And Villavicencio, the assassinated candidate, he ended up third. If he had ended up second, his substitute Christian Zurita, and actually I read a comment around, but I'm not mentioning names, I'm not mentioning data, but I'm spreading rumors or something like that. I wanted to show you. Well, I told you, you can read the libro Arroz Verde, Green Rice, Industry of, how do you say, soborno?
Bribes.
Bribes, yes. Industry of bribes. This was the investigation of Fernando Villavicencio, the assassinated candidate. Fernando Villavicencio, Christian Zurita. This is the assassinated candidate. And, well, in this picture, you can see him clearly. This is the assassinated candidate. And this one here is Zurita, the substitute. They presented this book in 2019, an investigation of the corruption during Korea term. You can find it. I mean, it's what they say. It's not. Me, Fiscalia about the kidnapping of this guy in Colombia, Caso Valde. You can look FGE is the Attorney General's office, Caso Valda, Case Valda, and you can read there more details. I know GM has been sharing some articles in the on the chat. Let's see. I don't know if GM wants to add something at this point, but yeah, there are so many things here. Okay,
Just
Daniel's
really quick,
viewpoint. Yeah.
really quick. Um, yeah. Okay. Mike first. I just wanted to make a quick mention because I saw Justin's comment and like I was replying to some of them. He was talking about if I had to go vote, and yes, of course I do. Again, but more so his comments about having to travel huge distances. They tried to resolve that. I don't know if they did this before, but I know this year they tried to resolve that. There was the possibility to vote online, but a lot of people had problems with voting online, and that's why they probably didn't even get to vote. I saw comments from people saying that waited, they were trying to get in, sitting there for like 2 hours, and the polls just closed, and they weren't able to vote. So it's a lot easier to vote in person in the sense that you're guaranteed that your vote's going to go through because you're there. But for people who live very far, it is kind of easier to just vote online. It's much easier for people who live outside the country to do that, obviously, because for them to have to travel here just to vote seems kind of like a waste of money, not of time, because you are investing that time into the country, and you can use it in order to, like, spend some time with your family here if you have family in Ecuador. But I do feel like the solution to vote online was good. It's just like most things that require internet. I know this because I studied in the university here. Sometimes the systems aren't optimized. I remember we had a whole bunch of problems when we wanted to matriculate into the university, doing it online. So everyone preferred to do it in person until they eliminated in person and they made it so that everyone had to do it online. But then they did it strategically after learning. They gave you specific dates when specific people could go in and matriculate. And that created its own problems because people were like, "Oh, but what if someone else beats me to it, or what if I'm not in the right place?" Uh, Meritocracy, of course, as well. Like if you were really really good, like if you had great honors from graduating high school and you had like things like that, then you had a better chance of getting in. But it's just things. And I really don't think that they came prepared. Like if the system really had the problems that it did, and I don't think people are lying to say that they had problems, but it's just because it's not optimized yet. Because I know how things are here, and sometimes even the bank systems aren't always optimized, and it's just a problem in general, and something that I hope gets resolved over time. Go ahead, Louis. Sorry about that. Ooh.
No, it's okay because people are asking about this. Actually, one of the questions was there about well, yeah, about the telematic vote. That was one of the topics to discuss. People abroad, the Ecuadorians, they have the right to vote. They are not obligated to vote, but they can vote. They vote through the usually or historically they have voted through the Ecuadorian consulates. They go to the Ecuadorian consulate in Caracas, Ecuadorian consulate in Madrid, Ecuadorian consulate in Minneapolis, Ecuadorian, New York, Newark, Connecticut. I don't recall the one in Connecticut. Phoenix, Miami. Miami is very populated with Ecuadorians. So they go there, but for these elections, the state, the Ecuadorian electoral power, decided that I don't know the reason this yet, and I have tried asking, but I don't know. I think it was for saving funds because the elections are expensive. They decided that people wouldn't have to go vote in person to the centers, but that they would vote electronically. They had to register on the website, and then they would choose their candidates just on the internet. But the platform collapsed. There were many mistakes. They were complaining all around the world, Japan, Australia, that they can't vote everywhere. It was very difficult. Then the Electoral Council said that they had been hacked. And Correísmo was many migrants support Correísmo. Why is this? Because many migrants had to leave during the feriado bancario, the bank holiday that Guillermo Lasso and was involved in. He didn't make the decisions, but he was in the board, so that's why many blame him of what happened. Maybe also because he was benefited with his bank. He benefited from what happened during the bank holiday. That's why many people hate him. I can't say if he was really guilty of or not of making the decisions, but certainly he got benefited. He gained millions of dollars with this crisis of in that time, and then becoming dollar. And well, the thing is that many migrants that left during that time, they saw the changes with Correa, and that Correa was a president for the people in many aspects, and he kept all the time sending greetings to the migrants, saying them that they were the heroes of Ecuador, because when Ecuador went broke, the migrants that left Ecuador left their families. They sent the money here, and that's what sustained the economy, supported the economy during many years. So many people like Correa and the things he did. And Correismo was saying yesterday that this error with the telematic vote is making them lose, that they are losing many votes because of this. I don't know at this time, but until lunchtime, I was watching on the news that they were analyzing whether repeating the telematic vote or not. Um,
Uh,
well,
I guess really quick, just to give my thoughts on a question I got from. Hold
sure.
I keep forgetting that the audio is really booty if I don't put in my mic. But
But
just to
it's
answer
okay.
the
I
question
feel
from Papicho that I saw about the thoughts about this election, honestly, in terms of it being rigged, it's that's the last thing that I've thought about during this whole election. Like a lot of the times, I do hear that in the States, some of the problems that they have is that they worry that the elections are rigged, and I think that was a lot of what Trump was fighting back for. Like, oh, the elections were rigged, but over here, I haven't had that thought. I might have had it once, but I was more thinking about who was more likely to win based on the things that were said from the campaign, based on the things that were said in general, from different people that I know, the things that I read online. So honestly, I didn't think that it was rigged. What I did think is that the res- the results of the election are basically the results of what was said by the people during the time. And I'm going to keep saying the same thing as always. Like, I really don't care who wins in the sense that it can be Correísmo, it can be Novoa, it could have been Topic, it could have been Hervas, it could have even been Armijos, who everyone laughs because he was never going to win. But it could have been anyone. But all I want is for someone to do something right here. Like to get into power, no matter what campaign they're in, and do things right. Like stop with the corruption, actually make changes in the country, be positive here. So that way we can see that, we can do things without having to go through the bushes, if you will, like going around doing it in a roundabout way. So that's the only thing I ask for. I have nothing against any of the campaigns. The reason why I talk a lot about the situation with Correa and we talk about Correísmo is because it's the thing that everyone talks about. It's the thing that you see everywhere. The argument, it, for everyone outside of the country, you might be like, why do you guys talk about Correa so much? But here, everyone talks about Correa. Like, no matter where you are, Luis is in Cuenca, I'm here in Manaví. I can ask my cousin who's living in Quito, and everyone will tell you everything is about Correísmo versus everyone else. So, of course, we talk about Correísmo and Correa a lot because that was also a big part of our history. I've been here for like 10 years, more than 10 years. And it's like during that whole time, I lived pretty much through the time that Correa was here and in power. So, of course, that's the main thing that I can talk about because that's the main thing everyone's lived through, at least in our adult lives. And really quick before I give the before I let Lewis talk again, Jamie, matriculate. I don't know if that's the word in English, but basically matriculate. Well, matricular. I'm gonna write it in Spanish in the chat. Matricular. But basically, that's when you sign up for example, in the university when you enroll. I think the correct word is
Enroll is the
enroll.
word.
It's just I have heard the word matriculate, so I just always remember the word matriculate. But yeah, it's probably enroll would be the ideal one. And I just saw Don's comment. Thanks, Don, for being here, man. Take it easy. And hope you can join us in another one. Maybe next time we'll have a conversation like this too.
Good night, Don. Okay, see you soon. Daniel's viewpoint. Does Novoa have any political experience running such a large corporation like a country? Actually, he owns several companies. He runs, I don't know if he runs any of them at this point, but he has set in like in the registry of companies. He has several companies to his name. He was running one more or less big, but I don't know if he continues doing that now. Like topic, yeah, was in the front of the company is like just until he ran as a candidate. That's when he decided to give his shares. But Novoa, he's being an entrepreneur. He, but I don't. He's not like running anything now. I think because he was in the Congress in the Assembly also. He was working as an assemblyman, so he didn't have time for running a company. That's why I read. I don't recall where, but like he was not really active as a businessman lately because he was in the Assembly learning how to be a politic. Also, I wanted to say what GM said that he's tired a little bit of the past and correísmo and he wants to go to the future and stop with the BS. That's like the opinion of most young people here in the country. Most young people are tired of this fight and they want opportunities. They want to start advancing, you know? And that's why Novoa has caught so much attention from young people because Novoa has not been, yeah, let's go against Correa or Lasso or the bankers. He's been, we need to give opportunity to young people. He's just talking, he's just talked about his offers, his proposals, about what he can offer. But now, like, let's go against this. Let's go against this one. He's stopped with his manichaeism that most have. The assassinated candidate, Villavicencio, he was a lot about against Topic, against Correa, against Luisa, against everyone. Correa, he's always been against the elites, against the oligarchs, against the mafias, of the bankers, many things. And people are, especially young people, are sick of that. We want something more. Um,
Lewis, Kevin asked the question.
Kevin, super chat.
Uh-huh.
Do we know what the party balance in the assembly is going to be? Okay. Until the last results that I saw earlier, the Correismo is the number one force with over 50 or around 50, over 40 for sure. Since they were still counting and they were checking if the telematic vote was going to be repeated, they didn't have definite results. But what we know for sure is that Correismo is the number one force. Number two force is the Novoa's force, but just with much less people. And then third, the Partido Social Cristiano. They had like 14 assemblymen. Correísmo about 50. We have 114, yes, assemblymen, assemblywomen. Let me see the exact amount, but Correísmo certainly will be number one force, which means that Novoa will have to negotiate. Novoa said yesterday, after he knew he was going for the second round, they asked him, now that you're going to the second round, will you make alliances with other parties? Who will you make alliances with? And he said, I don't believe in these alliances. I believe these are like deals among. He used a word that is like, this is not good for people. This is something among the political parties, and I don't want that. I made my alliance some time ago, and my alliance is with people. So that also gave him more points because he's not joining the parties that are very stained, that has a lot of, that have very bad reputation. So I mean, Novoa has acted so far excellently as a candidate. Asamblea Ecuador.
Neon has some questions here, pretty interesting.
Who? Sorry.
Neon, and also I think VP. What about security issues for the candidates?
Do we know what the alliances of these candidates are? Okay, what I told Noah, he said so far, I don't see the alliances as something good. This is among parties. And I don't want that. My alliance is with people. Someone asked me, this is very important, about the question is Novoa's party platform. Novoa ran with two parties that were supporting him, Mover and PIB, a new party. Mover was the extinct Alianza País, which was the party of Correa, which later was taken by Lenin Moreno, the former president. And both parties, they are center left, leftist center, centro izquierda. Novoa would be a candidate center, very center, but you could say right center because he's a businessman and because of his experience. But I mean, this whole spectrum, you could say they are center, the parties and Novoa. The parties are left center, Novoa would be right center. He hasn't really said, I am right center. He has a very equilibrated guy. So you can say it's very centered. Like a little bit like I am. I am far center. Sometimes I say that. Also, Novoa obtained many votes from young people because even though he's a businessman, he has studied in these universities, he has openly said that he is in favor of leaving the petroleum underground. Most of the businessmen they were saying the petroleum we should use the money for building things, also because there will be issues. The companies that signed contracts for extracting the petroleum in the Yasuni National Park, then they may sue the country, the state, and we will have to pay millions. Because yes, there are disadvantages to this, but Novoa said no, we can work and we can keep the sustainability and we can keep the Yasuni pure without using that petroleum, and we can get money for Ecuador, for the country, without needing that petroleum. And because of his studies, it's easier to believe that he has a formula for this, and also because he's a businessman. So we will see the Yasuni want the petroleum from the Yasuni, from the Amazon jungle. Yasuni is a national park in the Amazon area of Ecuador. And there was one question that all Ecuadorians also had to answer about keeping the petroleum underground. Do you agree to keep the petroleum underground? And that question won the no. Sorry, the yes. That yes, we
I
will
was to
keep the
say, wait,
petroleum.
what? No.
Yeah. We will keep petroleum underground, and Novoa was supporting, yes, let's keep the petroleum underground. That gave him a lot of votes, I am sure. Uh, Neon, good question. Are any others at risk of getting shot? Novoa for sure, because he has said that he will fight insecurity because he wants to Ecuador to be a safe country for investors to come. He actually is now wearing a bullet vest all the time. People were criticizing that because they say this is only like a fashion trend now among the candidates and you're using this for propaganda. And it became a meme actually yesterday that he went to vote to the election center with a bullet vest holding the hand of his wife, but his wife had a white dress with no vest, anything, just like a model. And they were like, okay, you're wearing the ballet vest, but your wife, whatever.
Really quick, let me intervene for a second. Going into the hold up, thing to put on my mic. Going into the situation of security issues, of course, I agree that Noboa is in danger, but I also think that if Noboa, if anything happens to Noboa, it just cements his victory. Like, because it would be like pretty much saying that someone from the opposite party sent someone out to kill Noboa. So it would look that way to me, at least. If I were looking at it from the outside, I would be like, yeah, she tried to kill him, so now I don't trust Lisa. Like, even if you killed my candidate, I'll take his vice president over the murderer. That would be
Yes,
my opinion if that were to happen, of course. And the same thing, vice versa. If something happens to Luisa, goodbye, no, I don't trust you anymore. Why would you do this to? I know it's not the case. It might not be him that does it to her, and vice versa, her who does it to him. But um, it would definitely be a concern of mine because it would look suspicious. Now, going into the question I saw from BPE also, what about current oil contracts? I talked about this a little bit with my dad because he was the one who made the mention of that, and I thought that was really really interesting. If well, yeah, no, actually already did win. I mean, yes, won. So
yes,
we
yes
keep
to
it
the
underground, and that's the thing about that question. It was so weirdly formulated that it was hard to understand if you didn't read it more than once. If you read it once, you might have voted for the one that you didn't want to vote for. But anyways, the point being that um I forgot where I was going with that. But the contracts. My dad was saying that if the contracts aren't fulfilled, then there's going to be fines. There's going to be penalties. And but the thing that we have to understand also, like something that was also important to understand, is that apparently it's just a block. It's not that we're not producing oil anymore. It's just we're not taking it from that sector of Yasuni. Like, we'll still make oil, but we're not gonna take it all away from that area. We'll take it from other parts. Will there be a fine? Of course. There's no way that there won't be a fine because that was still going to help with the oil production. But will it be as bad as we're thinking? We can't know that for sure right now. We have to see what happens. Like, we don't have the, like, I think Lewis and I, as just people from the outside looking in, we don't have all the information on that. Like, I don't know if Lewis has more information on the whole oil contract, but I don't see it as being the biggest issue at the moment. But of course, sometimes it doesn't have to be at the moment. It has to be how it's going to affect the country later on. Like I talked about with my dad, it's not just the fact that you're not going to dig up the Yasuni. You're also losing the people who had jobs and now they're not going to have jobs. There's the fact that oil, like we said before, there's going to be a fine if it's not delivered. Um, there's repercussions that are added to that. That's why my hope is that since the vote was yes and that we're not going to take it, that we get to work on producing other forms of energy, and hopefully that helps us out. Hello, Michael. Go ahead, Louis. Sorry.
there will be arbitration. He because no one there will be arbitrations. And actually, I think I can share you a link here about that in Spanish, explaining that way better than what I could of what happens now that that yes won because the activities had to stop as soon as possible. The Constitutional Court said that if yes won, then the activities had to stop in no more than 1 year, everything, and removing all the structures, the pipes, all of this that had to be removed in 1 year. The experts, I was reading a little bit about that, and you can see the article that I have just put in the chat. They say that it's too little time for that. It will take longer, and it also will cost more than $1 billion to get all of that pure again. That's why many people were supporting no, like engineers, experts saying no, because first we will have arbitration because we're not complying with the contracts. Also, it will cost us a lot of money to take all of the infrastructure out,
Hmm.
and also we will stop receiving the money from the petroleum. And finally, all of the people defending the Amazon and the jungle, or most of them, they have not been there and they don't know the situation of the people living in the area who are now to be unemployed again because there are no other incomes. There are sources of income. Yes, there are many people who don't really need, or not that they don't need, but that they don't use dollar because they live in a purer state of life. But there are other people who are already used to a more Western model of life and they need a job. This is a very, very sensitive topic, difficult to discuss about. But the thing is that the contracts that are there, some will stop soon, but others were supposed to continue 2025 and a little bit beyond. And yes, Ecuadorian governments will have to pay them. These are foreign companies that invested money that are now working there and signed contracts to keep extracting that. You can see the link that I posted for more information in primicias.ec, which, by the way, is one of my favorite sources for reading news of Ecuador. I will have to alert of charge, so I will have to use the cell phone mic in a moment. Michael, hello, Michael. Luisa was attacked by the police when she went up to register as a candidate for president. Yeah, there was something weird there, but they say, well, it's very weird because Andres Arauz in the end was laughing. They made this video where he was getting out of the place, and someone told him like, remember to block your face or something like that. Weird. And also Novoa was involved in like in a shooting on Thursday in Duran when the parade of their he was there and his supporters in Duran there was, but some at the beginning they were saying they are attacking us. What happened?
All good. We can see you.
Okay, yeah, because it like resetted or something. But then they saw that it was not something against Novoa. It was something.
Okay, but now I can't hear you that well.
Yes, they have to load a little bit. I think I will have to speak higher and closer. Can you hear me?
Very low.
Mm, yeah. Uh,
Everyone. I'm writing in the chat.
yes. Sorry, battery ran off. Ran out.
It's okay.
Okay, but it was not against Novoa. This was something against, well, gangs. And it was criticized too because at the beginning Novoa was using it as a campaign for himself, like, see, I'm also being attacked. And the government was criticized because the Ministry of Interior, who leads the police, the security here, he said, no, it was not an attack against the candidate. It was a fight between gangs. But like the way in which he said it was like normalizing the event. Like, no, no, it was not against the candidate. It was just routinary gang fight.
If you check the comments, we can hear you very low.
Yes. Uh, let me see.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a good idea to stop the stream, but if there's anything we can answer, like any final question.
Okay, yeah, I can see you can't hear too much. What if I speak louder? Yeah, I thought I was going to be able to stream from the computer. Then, just then, I discovered that when I tried that it had to be done from the mobile. Well, now I think you have the general idea of who Luisa Gonzalez is and what she's offering. If she wants to win, she has to say, "We will go to the future," and not and stop this speech of we did it, and we will do it again, because that's like saying everything was perfect, which was not. And Noboa, he has got many votes because he has proposed, let's go to the future. He has not criticized the others, as most have done. So let us know. Any final question? You know already about Yasuni, the contracts. I think there are, let me check quickly. I think I have another question that I didn't answer. Important for expats, maybe want to know this. Do you feel that either candidate would adversely affect the retiree visa requirements, raising the minimum dollar requirements? I would say with the last increase to 3 minimum wages per month, that knocked a lot of seniors out of the ability to relocate. And I am right to the edge of it as it is. I really want increased minimum wages for Ecuadorians, but senior expats also. I would imagine pump up the income earnings for small businesses. And I agree 120% with this, because it's a mistake of this government to tell people in Ecuador with the National Institution of Statistics that a family of two and a child can live with 750 a month, that they can perfectly live with that a month, which is possible. It is difficult, but it's possible. But you're telling a single foreigner that $1,000 is not enough, that they have to have $1,350 for living in Ecuador. That's a mistake. That is making many people go to other places. And these are dollars that could come to Ecuador, that could go to the markets, that could go to people providing services, facilitators, drivers, tourism, many, many things. And if Novoa gets good advisors for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for the Immigration Ministry, this could be improved. I think he's a smart guy, so if this information gets to him, if anyone here has the way to reach Novoa, tell him that this is a mistake. Well, if Novoa wins, which is most likely. Or if Luisa wins, also I think they would lower this, because it's a mistake. This is for avoiding many expats of coming to Ecuador. Um, we will vote only for the two candidates that made it to the top. And something is the smuggling of the oil. We have subsidized oil, so a lot of this is going to Colombia and a lot of this is going to Peru. Noboa has proposed to stop this. Luisa, not that much that I have heard of and I have followed up a lot. So, but Noboa, he has said a lot about focusing on the borders. Also, last night they asked Noboa after winning about the alliances. He said he wants to make alliances with political parties, but he said that he may speak with Jan Topic to see how Jan Topic could collaborate in security, in the topic of security. And many people think that if Noboa wins, he could make many good things about security, as he may be working with Jan Topic, whose main focus was security. And putting this just to say goodbye then.
Really quick.
GM, some words.
1 second. Okay, so now I connected my mic. So just wanted to say, thank you for the people. Thank you, obviously, Louis, for all the questions here and like answering all these questions because Kim said great job, important conversation. Lisa, thank you so much for answering that question. What Daniel says, I agree. Colombia only requires $800 and has a lower cost of living and number one for healthcare. So it does seem kind of. That's why I don't feel like it would be a smart thing to do to drive away both people who want to retire and tourism itself here in Ecuador. I'm hoping it doesn't. And we also just got a question from Papicho Pachanga. How is the house market in Ecuador? How is the interest rate? Wow, Lisa, thank you so much for that, for the donation. I don't know, Louis, can you answer that question? How is the interest rate for housing? I feel like that's more of a question for my friend Maria Jose, the real estate agent. I don't know if Louis has a good answer for this one.
How's the house market in Ecuador? The interest rate. House market interest rates for loans or for buying and selling later? This is failing. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The interest rate for loans is extremely high. So that's why, well, banks are making a lot of money, and that's what many people are criticizing in the current times. And about, well, the real estate market here is very different to the US. In the US, many people buy houses and repair them, remodel them, and then they sell them. But here, that's not how it works. It could be 1 year or 2 years until you can sell a house. If you buy something now, it will take a lot of time to sell it, and maybe you don't earn that lot. But the thing is that it will take you a lot of time to sell it. That would require, if GM has a real estate contact, she could explain you better. It's a good investment, but long term, depending on the area. I think there are some super chats before we leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Doc Jackie.
Liza. Well, GM, thanks. That's for him, just in case. And Doc Jackie, are candidates pro people legally owning a gun for protection? Like, what if a bus were stopped and folks robbed? They haven't really talked too much about this, about the gun carrying law that was signed by Lasso some time ago. It is not enforced yet because the regulation has not been published, and the law cannot be enforced. It cannot enter in force as long as there is not a regulation. Maybe with the next government it will be returned. We don't know yet, really. Lasso is leaving, new president is coming, new assembly is coming, and the candidates have not talked too much about this part of defense. But knowing Luisa, knowing the Correísmo, they are more pro-state, police taking care of everything, not that the citizens take justice in their hands. And Noboa, that's something that I haven't seen him talking about. He's also being about securing the borders, equipping the police, but I haven't seen an opinion of his about gun carrying. Openly said, Topic said, in my government, the police will be able to shoot criminals immediately. And they actually made many memes about Topic saying he wants to solve everything with bullets.
Mm-hmm. Really quick. Just to intervene with that same, well, I guess with that topic and a little bit of what I was reading over here. Yeah, Topic was always, and I posted one of the memes from him. Topic was always the candidate that was just to the extreme level, and that's what a lot of the people that I know that I've talked to. That's why they supported Topic, because they wanted someone who didn't just say they were going to do something, but someone who actually looked like they were going to do it. That's another reason why they didn't have much faith in people like Hervas and I think Armijos, because they were too like, they weren't like terrible options, but they didn't look like they had the power to do anything. But Topic was out there like saying, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do something and it's gonna happen. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize. Hold up, let me. All right, please confirm. Is it still echoing? Does it sound okay? Maybe I should just speak a little bit less loud. Hello, hello, hello. Does it sound all right? Let me go back to that question from Doc. I really haven't seen more. I will go with what Lewis says. I don't really see any of the candidates really like focusing on putting guns in the hands of people. I'm actually surprised Lasso himself had proposed that. Okay, yeah. Sorry about the echoing. I'll leave this to Lewis for now. Gomen nasai.
Well, yeah, next live stream, it was longer than expected. I will have this 100% fully charged to not have these issues. But we learn. It's my first, and I think also GM's first shared live stream.
Like this, yes.
Yeah. We can make a list of questions in the community tab and then discuss over that and the super chats, of course, because I know there are many things that have been unanswered. And you have had interesting chat of what, as per what I see here. But well, security will be a focus. We will see what will happen in the next month. Of course, we will be following up in the next month and a half. There is a question important here. I know many, if not all of you have it, is what's general security situation for everyday people outside of Esmeraldas and Guayaquil? In Cuenca, it is pretty normal. It is, I mean, I can go out on the streets almost every time until let's say maybe 11 p.m. everywhere. Because if I am in the central area, the tourist area, it's pretty safe. The Parque Calderón area, the restaurants close at 11. The discotheque area, the days that the discotheques open, they open until 4 a.m. And I'm not really concerned about security here, like myself going out on the streets. I'm concerned about the security situation because people are not coming. I work with tourism, and yeah, people are afraid because when they watch the news, they watch not Guayaquil or Esmeraldas, they watch Ecuador. And I have family in Guayaquil. Most of my family is from Guayaquil and Manabí. Well, actually, Guayas and Manabí all scattered throughout the provinces. And the situation there is really hard, difficult. If I go there, I cannot have my cell phone. Well, in Manabí, I don't know, because my family lives in very rural area. But in Guayaquil, I cannot have my cell phone just like this. If they call me, I have to leave it and I cannot answer. In Cuenca, I mean, you don't even think about it. You can carry it all the time. You can even go with cameras. You will see the tourists around. In Quito Historic District, it will be the same. At least during daytime. But in Guayaquil, no. Or the normal, the question. The normal situation is, out of Guayaquil and Esmeraldas, you wouldn't realize too much. except in some areas in the coast, but like maybe Calceta, some neighborhoods of Manta, because Manta also has the beach area, which is tourist. I don't know in Puerto Viejo, GM.
Here in Puerto Rico, I mean, I live pretty much on the place that's supposed to be safe, but my dad himself has also said, like, he's seen a robbery on the corner of the street. So you just never know when or where it's going to happen. So if we're just talking about robberies, of course, and there are zones where they've done the vacuna thing, the vaccine, the extortion. So it there are parts of the city like here. If you want to talk about the safest places, it's always wherever there's a gated community, and it's easier for me to tell you where the dangerous area and the areas to avoid. San Pablo, Floron, El Guasmo. So they're just places you don't want to be in when you're here in Puerto Viejo. Everywhere else, you don't pull out your phone on the street, but you can at least walk without being so worried. Tan alejo. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Well, if you go to Guayaquil, try to only stay in San Borondon. I will post my video in Guayaquil with updates because Guayaquil has tourist areas. You can go there to the tourist areas during daytime, taking cautions, but it's possible. Of course, if you want to be 100% safe, then don't go at all to Guayaquil, but you can do tourism in Guayaquil. Actually, Luis Desposito, I think it's his name, the guy of Breaking Bad and The Mandalorian, this actor, he was here 2 weeks ago and he did tourism in Guayaquil. He was here for a convention. And yeah, it's possible. Let me see if you recognize this guy. If you have watched Breaking Bad, the owner of Los Pollos Hermanos, Giancarlo Esposito is his name. Giancarlo Esposito. He was in Guayaquil, yeah, just 2 weeks ago. Well, anyways, I think that would be it for now. All of Manta safe. What area you should always avoid in Manta? I'm not an expert in all of Manta. I just can tell you that in the area of the Pacific Mall, Playa Murciélago, you can be fine. Out of that, out of the city would be Santa Marianita, San Lorenzo, Pacoche. But in all of the area of Manta, where you cannot be, I can't really tell. I have been there at night and at day, but during night I didn't like the area of the discotheques. I didn't like the ambience that I felt. And besides that, I can say that most of Manta wouldn't be an area that you would visit at all because it's residential and in poor areas that you wouldn't do anything there.
I personally do have my laptop over here, but I have the volume lowered very, very low.
Okay.
My laptop, it's more like a poster.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry for the inconvenience of the streaming. I think, yeah, this can make it now 3 hours, but they were not 100% charged when I started. Yeah, see you in a next live stream, hopefully. I don't know. It depends on you and on GM's, of course. This is his channel. But We are here because you are here. Otherwise, I could simply call GM and talk with him only.
We do this for
We
you
do
guys
this for
because
you
we wanted
guys.
to make
We
sure
wanted to make
you got
sure
all the
you got
best
all the
info.
best info.
Well, GM has nice videos about things you should know before coming to Ecuador, or things you have to take into account if you are in Ecuador visiting, or you want to visit other cities if you already live in Ecuador. So stay tuned. And on Build Up Tours channel, I will post my security and safety video for 2023, which I recorded, but I have to make updates. Also, you have the travel advisories of the United States. You just Google US Travel Advisory or Canada Travel Advisory Ecuador, UK Travel Advisory Ecuador, and you will find recommendations there. So that you can't say that it's us telling you lies. I mean, it's
I don't get
the
where
same
that
things
comes
that
from,
we
man.
tell
But
you
telling you guys
is
the
what you will
truth.
find there. Common sense. Common sense is the main thing.
Oh man. If you guys want to
If you
check
guys
out
want to
Lewis's
check out
channel,
Lewis's channel,
obviously
obviously
it's in the
in the
description.
description.
We will be doing
We
more
will
of
be
these in the
doing more of
future,
these in the
hopefully when
future.
we have
Hopefully, when we
time.
have time.
I also have
I
planned
also
to do
have planned to do
another
another
do's and don'ts
do's and
video.
don'ts video.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah,
that
I
go.
hear that go.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
Um,
Um,
but there's a lot
but
of plans.
there's a lot of plans.
I've
I've
already got
already
things
got
planned to
things
send out
planned
for
to
the
send out for
members
the members
to let everyone know
to
what
let
I've got
everyone know
planned.
what I've got planned.
And
And
yeah,
yeah,
any suggestions
any
you
suggestions
have, please
you have, please
send me an email,
send me an email,
leave me a
leave
comment,
me a comment,
leave Lewis a
leave
comment.
Lewis a comment.
Let us know.
Let us know.
Well, thank you very much. Have a good night. And see you soon. Leave your comments on next transmissions on the community tab, and of course we will be taking that into account for the next transmission.
Definitely.
Definitely.
So goodbye,
So
everyone who
goodbye,
is here.
everyone who is
Have an
GM,
excellent
Have
night.
an excellent night.
people, world, see you. Bye bye.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Let's see. Goodbye, guys. Take care. We'll talk soon.